Welcome to Pirate Living Podcast. We are your hosts, Karan and Kristen. On this podcast, we are highlighting ordinary people living extraordinary lives. These are pirates who take small, bold actions daily to create social change. Pirate life is all about rebelling and breaking the rules for good. Creating lasting social change starts by first breaking our inner rules. After all, the hardest rules to break are your own. The pirates we highlight have dedicated themselves to creating good trouble. Today, we're happy to be joined by Kaitlynn Mika. Kaitlynn is a lifestyle and fellow Enlifted coach, and she guides people from hot mess to pure magic after making huge changes in her own life. Welcome, Kaitlynn.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so you've been going through your own changes and growth recently, and we would love for you to weave us the tale of your pirate journey.
Sure. So my pirate journey started really at the beginning of this year. I was, living on the edge at the end of last year, and I was definitely somebody that would tell you that they were full of anxiety and sadness, and I was drinking more than I should and eating whatever I wanted. I definitely had myself pegged as the victim of being a COVID bride. I was planning a wedding during COVID, and I was just really on a downward spiral and fighting a war in my own head. So my brother Chase, who is an Enlifted level 3 coach, introduced me to Mark. He actually texted me and said, "Do you want a story work coach? It's not me." Because Chase and I have done the coach client thing before, and it works better if we pick different coaches and different clients. So at the time, I didn't realize that he was introducing me to the founder of Enlifted. So I started coaching with Mark, and there was an immediate change in my own life. Learned the language game, learned that very quickly that the way that I was speaking to myself was the way that I wouldn't even speak to somebody that I considered an enemy. So it was very interesting to take a look into my own life. And I definitely realized that I was letting outside influences determine my identity. And I decided that I wanted to rebel against the war that I was fighting in my own head. So I started talking to myself like a friend instead of an enemy. And it's been a very peaceful rebellion for me. So I've become, much more of a strong person, I would say, and just started learning how to live my life with balance.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I love about your story is I would imagine similar to so many of the Enlifted coaches, that, once you learn how the language affects everything that we do, we just want to share that change with the world. So how has that influenced what you're doing now?
Yeah. Well, I have a corporate management job. So I have a team of all entry-level employees under me, which, when I started in my pirate transition, I was all about how it helped me. I was the one being coached. I was the one learning. And it very quickly transitioned into, I work in social media. So I work in a very public, sometimes negative world. So to be able to help that side of it and help develop these entry-level employees who are like straight out of college, sometimes high school, it's been really great to have that, because they can get to the point where they're like, I can't handle this. I can't do this. I can't believe people would say stuff like that. And I can kind of refocus and shift them back to, the positives. Also, I've implemented meditation Mondays, which has been incredible. And I wish, because I started in their position, that somebody would have had that for me, because it's so easy when you have so many people coming in and so much going on to just get so focused in on what you're doing. And I mean, they've all said that, you know, our 5-minute meditations have changed their life, and they feel most productive after those. And so that's been really awesome. That's like one of those small changes that, you know, feels small to me and is actually a very big change in a lot of people's lives. Some of them have told me that they've implemented meditation on other days. So that's awesome. And then I've started coaching a bit. I've done 7 sessions, mostly with friends. A couple people within the Enlifted community have introduced me to people. And it's really, really great to see people who I can relate so much with my past, who come in and they're like, I'm just anxious and I have these thoughts that I don't know what to do with. And it's really great to be able to help them. I actually had a session yesterday and I was talking to my husband and I was like, it's so amazing how you are helping these people. And by the end of it, when they start feeling better, you also start feeling better. It's just this chain reaction. So I believe you both know my sister-in-law. She's gotten really into it, which is awesome because, you know, our little nephew, her son, there's little things that we'll like implement with him, and she's done she has these calm down cards for at night. And so it's really cool to see it pass not only to the people around me, but then the people around them too.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, we love Heather.
Yeah.
She's great. Me too.
Oh, is that our Heather?
It's our Heather.
Oh, our Heather.
She did it.
Very lucky in the sister-in-law department.
Yeah, she did our group coaching, our last group coaching group that we did. So it was wonderful.
Yeah, she's a ball of positive energy, that one.
Yes. So what is the social rebellion that you are looking to start with the work that you're doing, whether it's with your clients or the people that work under you at your in the corporate world?
Yeah, so I've thought about this now. I've defined it as I'm rebelling against the idea that your identity, my identity, is created by anyone other than yourself. I definitely I can think about like election time where I have people on both sides of me and I'm hearing both sides and I'm relating with both sides. I used to describe myself as an empath. And I take on this turmoil and this frustration and everybody took on. And I've been able to really determine who I want to be in my own head. Even in the beginning, I mean, it was all looking in the mirror and picking the thing I wanted to be that day. So happy, calm. My friend was a big one. I would tell myself I am my friend every day. And I completely redirected and recreated who I was. So that is my big thing, is that these outside influences that we take so seriously really only determine who you are if you let them. So my biggest rebellion is that, and the voice inside your head. I mean, when I sat there and I would say, I'm sad, I'm anxious, I'm upset, I'm stressed out. That is what I lived. That is who I was. And now I say, you know, I am my friend. I am calm. I'm relaxed. I have Post-it notes on my screen that say I'm organized. I'm beautiful. I'm celebrating. So that I'm celebrating is from wedding planning. I would get stressed out and I would look at that and I would say, this is a celebration. I'm celebrating. And little changes like that are huge changes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So are we having the usual Wi-Fi Wednesday? Just checking in with Kristen.
I think I'm delayed as well. So there's that.
Perfect. So whenever you hear Kristen not talking much, it's not that we don't want her to talk. It's just Wi-Fi Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. For that.
So when you got started on this journey, what were some of the more uncomfortable questions that you asked yourself to get started on this rebellion?
Yeah, there were a lot. Are you living the life you want to live? What can you change? are you, in the past when I've tried, have I really put my mind and heart into it? That's a big one. Is, you know, we talk about the victim mentality, and I was the queen of the victim mentality. So it got to the point where I was asking myself, like, is this, you know, the way it is, or is this the way that I've created this story, that I've made this, that I've turned this into? You know, in the beginning of coaching, I remember having a moment where I was like, you know, I'm laying down in bed and thoughts are racing, and I'm like, people used to treat me like shit. And then I was like, I used to treat me like shit. And then I was like, or I let people treat me like shit. I treated me like shit. I love myself. And then I like went to sleep. And it's just this transitional thought. And I had to ask myself a lot when I would start to think about projections. And, you know, I would say to myself, I'd be like, is this me? Like, I wanted to bring everything back to me. So I was constantly questioning, when I would project, I was constantly questioning myself, and why am I turning this away from myself? How can I bring this back into me?
Yeah, so powerful it's so powerful to take accountability for our lives. And that's what Enlifted's all about, really. And abolishing the victim mentality is really about taking that accountability. So I love that you said that, like, how can I take back that accountability for what I'm saying rather than projecting it onto other people? That's so powerful.
And I mean, yeah. And that goes back to, I create my identity. I create it. When it boils down to it, it's all my responsibility and my power. So
totally. Yeah. We get to stop giving that power away to others.
Yes. And I gave that power away for a very long time. So it's awesome to have it, take it back.
I did that too.
I'm learning that it's a common thing.
Yeah, it's the they.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those they and thems. They're
right.
They're wreaking havoc around the world.
Definitely. Yes.
The all-knowing they.
All-knowing, the almighty they.
I mean, that could be a rebellion in itself, is against the they and them. So
yeah. I remember asking myself, who were they? Who were them? And like, they're no one. That's me. It's all me, right?
Yeah. That's a good, difficult question there too.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if I froze. I was going to say on that as well. We were talking, I think last interview we did, I thought I was blaming my bosses when I was like, they don't care about. Stopped to ask myself, who is this they? And there was nobody in my, I wasn't pulling up an image of anybody. And I was like, oh,
yeah, that's
very interesting.
Exactly.
The ethereal they. So what are some of the bold actions, small or big, that you've taken to get you where you are now?
Yeah. Personally for me, I mean, I set up a Zen den in my closet, where I have my own space. I go for walks. And these are, you know, the small, bold actions, that have changed everything. Because having that time, and this goes in with it, the big thing is that I give myself time to slow down. Which helps with my productivity, helps with the way that I think. Because when I've noticed it in myself, and when I get busy and start running 1,000,000 miles a minute and stop taking that time to meditate or say my affirmations or journal or go for my walks, I start to revert back, and I'll be like, oh, I'm so stressed out. Oh, I'm so this, I'm so that. Where if I just take those, even in the busiest times, if I take that time to myself, I still can, you know, say like, I'm organized, I'm calm, and I stay that way. So taking the time and really being aware of the way that you're speaking to yourself is the biggest thing for me. I have a journal where I've written down, I am my friend and why. That's a big, bold action. Because to be able to sit and read that and read back to why, like, I am my friend because this, I am calm because this, that is a big thing for me, to be able to stay that way. Also, bold actions, getting certified in Enlifted level 1 and 2. I'm getting a nutrition certification. I'm getting certified as a meditation teacher, because I really do believe that learning how to teach all of it has helped me so much. And then also, of course, being able to spread that outward to the world. And if I stay, relaxed and breathe low and slow, I notice it around me. And, my husband, I have said on, I think, a Tuesday Night Live, I've said that we were the king and queen of maybe. And he'll joke and, be like, maybe, probably, possibly. So he's aware of his self-talk now, which is awesome. And then, even my parents will be like, maybe, or for sure, and you don't need to be saying maybe, you should acknowledge. So yeah, it's been, it's all these things that seem small that add up to huge changes and completely changing the person that I am, because I'm a completely different person than I was this time last year. And then just learning that the things that I blamed, like alcohol, like being able to eat normal and having a slow metabolism, those things that, like, I blamed everything on were never really the issue. It was always the way I felt about myself and the way I felt about those things.
Yeah, you said a lot of good stuff there. One of the things that you said, like, at the beginning there, that I really like is when I journal, and when I get my clients to journal, is adding the because. And I love to do that with gratitude as well, because I think it's really easy to say, I'm grateful for my husband. Okay, why? Like, what specifically are you grateful for right now? Right? I'm grateful because he made a really delicious dinner last night and I feel really loved and nourished. So I love that you're talking about adding that because I think that's where the magic is.
And then when you reread it, it's so much more, for me, powerful, because you can read back why you were feeling that in that time, where it's like when you may be struggling to feel that way, if you're just reading the words, like the one sentence, it's like, well, why, but when you can go back and read why you felt that about yourself, it's so much more powerful to me.
Yeah, for sure. Tell us a little bit more about 180 coaching.
Yeah, so that's that was when was that we came up with that? Level 2, I want to say, of the call. And we were just talking and I was like, I did a complete 180. I went from one person to a completely different person. So we were actually talking, Mark and I, about writing a book, and it was going to be called 180 from Hot Mess to Pure Magic. So that's something that's still in the works, wedding planning and buying a house took precedent this summer. So getting back into that. We're going on our honeymoon this weekend. So I plan on using that 5-hour plane ride for productivity. And it's, for me, the target for me is women, specifically in their 20s, because that was where a lot of my struggles came in. People who struggle with anxiety, people who struggle with consistency. My Instagram handle is consistently Kaitlynn, because, and I changed it before I was very consistent, and it was very much more, or very much so an affirmation, one of those, like, say what you want to be. So 180 coaching is helping people do what I did, helping people recreate themselves, helping people create their own identity. I could sit here and talk about creating your own identity for this entire call. So that's really what it boils down to. And I've already been able to see it where I'll get on coaching calls with, people who are my friends, people who are other Enlifted coaches, and, being able to do those translations and really like recreate who they see them, how they see themselves is awesome, especially when it's someone who, because when I started coaching, I had friends who were like, yeah, I'll do it. And it was more of a favor to me. Mm-hmm. And seeing them like really have things click and move. And at the end of it, they're like, oh, I feel so much better. And like, I didn't even know I needed this. And so that's really cool. So yeah, that's what 180 is to me. It's all about when you're feeling one way, you have the power to completely 180 that.
I like that. I did training camp for the soul before I did met vocabulary and Enlifted work. And if I ran into myself from 3 years ago, I don't think I'd recognize myself. So my life took a complete, I started realizing a lot of the things with my language, and taking charge of my own story. So yeah, I think I really like the 180 idea with what you're doing.
Thank you.
So where can our listeners go to find out more about you?
I do have the website 180.com, or 180.me, sorry. And that is, I do have a blog on there, so you can follow along with my journey. And then consistently _Kaitlynn is my Instagram handle. I definitely use that more, posting stories, and I love translations. So if you like translations, you'll see a lot of them on my Instagram. So those are the two places that I am right now.
Pretty cool. And how would you recommend our listeners go about starting their own pirate life?
First of all, you can do it pretty much overnight. It's one of those things that sounds like, oh, I'm going to start this rebellion and I have to have it all figured out before I start it. You're going to figure it out as you go. Start looking in the mirror and telling yourself you are your friend. That is my biggest thing for my advice, because like I said in the beginning, I was talking to myself like an enemy. And as soon as I started telling myself I was my friend, I started talking to myself like a friend. I started treating myself like a friend. I started nourishing my body like a friend. I started exercising like I would tell a friend to. I started giving myself advice like I would give to a friend, rather than saying, you're lazy, you're not smart enough for that. Things like that. You start telling yourself that you are smart enough, that you are amazing, that you are beautiful, that you can do anything, that you're consistent. So that's my biggest thing. Start talking to yourself like you're a friend. And you're going to figure out really fast what your rebellion is, because it's going to be so natural. And then take it and run with it, and learn as you go. I'm still doing things to grow myself, and I actually went to school as a nutrition major originally, so it's funny that back to 180, or that's more of a 360. I'm now doing a nutrition certification and looking to be a nutrition coach. So that's pretty cool. And it's one of those things that when I was 18 years old, I started as a nutrition major. I was a nutrition major for a week, and I told myself I wasn't smart enough, and I changed. So it's really, really cool to grow into that person that I started out my rebellion against myself, and against the person that I used to be. So
I love that story, because I know oftentimes we when we're younger, we have these passions and then we abandon them for what we should do. One of my earliest jobs, actually my very first job, was coaching. And I eventually left coaching, left the gym to get a quote, quote, real job, to do what I should do. And it's funny how, you're right, it does come full circle. And here we are back with coaching. And it's like, oh, I knew I loved this from a young age. Like I was 15 when I started coaching kids at a community center. So yeah, your passion does become obvious, your path that will become obvious. And I would add to that, like look to what you loved when you were younger as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and when I started, because it was, I was being coached, and then I moved into being certified as coach, and I was talking about it, and I was like, in college, like people used to joke like, oh, people just want to tell Kaitlynn their life story. We would be at parties and I'd end up sitting on a couch with somebody and consoling them like through issues. And it just, you go back to these things that you were naturally drawn to, like without even realizing it. And, I talked about being an empath. And one of the biggest things that I've realized is that you can help people, you can care about people without taking on their emotions. And it's such a powerful thing for me to have learned, because when I'm coaching now, I can like care and disconnect in a way, where that's, there's likely a better word for that. I can keep myself very calm and very low and slow, and be able to help. So that's definitely something that I've learned too, is that I used to be very emotional and very reactive. And when you learn to control that, it's amazing what can happen and how much more you can accomplish and how much more productive you can be.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something that a lesson I'm learning still. And I know I even texted Kristen after a storywork session. I was like, oh, I just had a session with a client who went through, a trauma with a capital T, and I'm feeling it very heavy. And, it's also great to have other friends in this community that can remind you to breathe through it. And, that we get to release these energies, that they're not ours. Right.
Pirate friends are awesome.
Yeah, they are.
And it's, I think my internet's better because I'm hearing you two better.
Sounds like you're there.
So I'm gonna try this. It's part of being that space creator too. Like people talk about being a space holder, but really it's being a space creator, and you get to set the tone of what it's like around you. So if you're taking on the energy of all the people around you, that's going to be very stressful, versus keeping that low and slow. It's going to be able to create the energy for everybody else. And I worked with kids, so I had fun practicing it with kids, especially infants, because they pick up so easily. But when I could go into a room with this teacher that was stressed out, high energy, shoulders up high to their ears, and I'd go in and give them a 10-minute break. And in those 10 minutes, the kids were all calm, no longer crying, and they're hanging out because I created the energy for them within the room. So it's fun to experiment with too. And being able to be like, okay, if I come in and I'm calm, that's what I'm setting here. So anyway,
definitely that's something with my rebellion against myself or for myself, that I was an energy sponge before this. And I always often took on the energy of those around me rather than creating mine. So.
Yeah. So fun.
Yeah. It is. It's really, it's an amazing, and it's, at the core of it, it's so simple. And yet I was completely unaware of it.
Yeah. So very simple change. That's extremely highly, it's effective, extremely highly effective.
Yes. Exactly.
So effective, I have to use all the adjectives.
Right. Extremely highly, very
super duper awesomely effective.
Yeah.
So now that you're back, Kristen, do you want to ask the final most important question?
This is what I got to come back for.
Been working on your Wi-Fi the whole time for this.
Just for the most important question. So the question is, do you know any pirate jokes?
I have researched. So how much did the pirate's ear piercing cost?
How much?
$1 an ear. And then what kind of grades, or why did the pirate struggle in school?
I don't know.
All right.
He always had high C's.
Huh.
And those are my two. Those are the two I got.
Got it. I like it. You brought the double shot.
Uh-huh.
Excellent.
I did some looking up
Some
to
research.
try to find some. So
There's a lot.
We do
That was-
appreciate that. And I will say the joke that we've carried over for the last couple of episodes, because people have brought their own, I think is really funny. And I cannot wait until we get to say this one.
Yeah.
Anyways, stay tuned. And
I'm
maybe
excited. I will.
maybe
I will.
next week.
All right. I'll watch out for it.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I don't know about you, Kristen.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
And I realize that by the time this one comes out, we'll be in a new year because you're going to be our first one of the new year.
Woo!
So,
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
so we all get to start off the new year with Kaitlynn.
I love it.
Excellent.
All right. Well, we're gonna ring it in right then.
We are
Yes.
make 180ing ourselves and being our friends. So
2022 is the best year ever.
best.
Best year ever.
Woohoo.
It's rock and roll, guys. There are no rules. This one goes to 11.